Plantation in old Virginia. My mama Lucy and my papa Samuel Ward raised me as best they could under the master's watchful eye. But life ain't never been gentle for us. See these burns on my neck and this gap in my smile? I bear these wounds from the hand of Lieutenant John Ward, the very man whose name I wore, whose children I bore, 5 of them in fact. Now don't think for a moment I didn't question my life's choices or wonder if life was worth bringing more souls into. I know many enslaved women who had ended their pregnancies or done worse to protect their children from the chains. I really can't blame them though, truly. But me, I prayed and I prayed. I said, Lord, help me take care of my children. Keep them safe. Give them the strength that you planted within my soul. Lieutenant Ward had died not so long ago, and with it, his last breath, he had manumitted us all, his children, his blood. He left us the cook's estate. Said we were free to carry ourselves however we chose. But the irony is, in Virginia, a slave state, us black folk, colored folk, weren't permitted to reside in the land any longer. The moment the ink dried on that will, they loaded us onto wagons, pulled by oxen, and carted us over to the border of Ohio, near Lawrence County. When we got there, the folks had called us dirty. Wrote it up in the newspapers how unkempt we was, as if this dust from the roads was our own doing, and not the cost of forced travel. Can you believe that? That was the largest manumission they'd ever seen in them parts. They couldn't even say the ward's name without spitting. The will allowed us to change our names if we so chose. A chance to shed the shackles of ownership. But some of us did and some of us didn't. Either way, the law and the people had only saw us as a burden and not as newly free folk with the right to live. To stay in Ohio legally, we had to pay a bond with money we hardly had. $500 was no small sum for us who had just tasted the freedom. 2 white Syrtes typically had to sign on our behalf after we wouldn't become a public charge. Family paid, so we stayed. My boy John T. Ward, he was the man of the house before he could grow a whisker on his chin, about the same age as this young man right here. He worked, hunted the fields, and did all he could to put food on our table. But worse, I saw the fire in his eyes. The same defiance I felt every time the lash had cut my skin. I'm so sorry, it's very hard to talk about my son, for he worked very hard. You see, most people here today, I think, they wouldn't be here if it wasn't all that he had done for us. He learned his letters and sums because I had a pamphlet once for him, David Walker's Appeal, so that he know other men like him causing and working very hard for a chance for freedom. Dangerous thing to carry this pamphlet. It could have cost him his life. But how else was he to learn? When the riots broke out in Cincinnati in 1829, I fled further west with my children, and my other family moved over to Dayton, looking for calmer waters. And John T. Ward, though, he set his sights on Columbus, Ohio when he was only 20 years old. Said if he was going to change anything, he'd do it where it mattered most, where the abolition movement had roots deep within the city's soil. He became a conductor on the Underground Railroad when he was only 20 years old, so that he could make others find the liberty he had fought for. And some days, he had kept his distance from us, which I understood. Because back in them days, having a moral character was a dangerous thing. And it could have cost you your life quicker than you could have whispered. Through every trial, I knelt at night, praying protection over my children and my family, but most importantly, my son. I said, Lord, if you had granted me the strength to endure all these scars on my face, on my body, then you would grant John T. Ward the strength to change this world. I had given him to the anti-slavery cause the day I was freed. A gift of freedom I never thought I would know. And though the Ward's name and memory weigh heavy on me, I chose to do something about it. I chose to change it because my name is Hannah Ward, survivor of the lash and the burn, mother of 11, keeper of hope, maker of freedom. I chose life. I chose my children. And I do choose a life where we can all come together. One bond, one wagon journey, and one act of rebellion at a time.